In Luke chapter 12, let me just read it to you, beginning at verse 22. I want you just to listen with your heart. Listen with the deepest part of your heart tonight. Then he said to his disciples, "Therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, nor about your body, what you will put on." In other words, don't live your life worried about these things. Life is more than food, and the body is more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap, which have neither storehouse nor barn, and God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds?
Why are we going to pray if we're going to just keep worrying? It's just silly. It's just wasted effort. If you're going to worry, don't pray. When I try to teach on not worrying, I finally got to the point where I thought, Lord, this is useless for me to teach on not worrying because people are going to worry anyway. I heard all the messages on not worrying, and I worried anyway. So I finally just kind of got down with God in study, and I said, when are people going to stop worrying? And here's what I've learned. I can stand here and tell you that I'm blue in the face not to worry, but you know what? You're going to worry until you finally realize that it's useless. It doesn't help your problem, doesn't solve your problem. All it is us saying, I think if I think about this long enough and worry about it long enough, I can figure something out. That's not going to work. Sometimes I bring a rocking chair. I didn't bring that this weekend. Worry is like rocking in a rocking chair all day. It keeps you busy but gets you nowhere. At the end of the day, you'll still be in the exact same spot, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I would say that worry is a pretty huge problem for a large majority of people.
Anxiety comes with life, but it does not have to dominate our lives. But how do we do it? How do we find this? Well, I think this passage can help us. Paul lists here 4 helpful ideas for winning the war on worry. First, celebrate God's goodness. Rejoice in the Lord always, he says. Again, I will say, rejoice. Paul, ever the preacher, knows to repeat what he wants to say. Rejoice in the Lord always. You weren't listening, Lucado. Again, I say, rejoice. And then he sticks an exclamation point on the end of it as if to say, come on. Rejoice in the Lord always, the apostle writes with chains dangling from that Roman jail cell. Rejoice in the Lord always, he writes, with no penny in his pocket. His point is, don't meditate on the mess. The more you stare at the problem, the bigger it gets. The more you stare at the problem, the bigger it gets. So when you have a problem, lift up your eyes and rejoice in the Lord. The minute the anxiety comes, rather than giving in to the anxiety, you lift up your eyes and you rejoice in the Lord. This was the counsel of the psalmist. He said, I will lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence comes my help? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. Do you see the intentionality in those words? I will lift up my eyes. This was a decision that the psalmist made. The Apostle Peter is a testimony to this. You remember how when the storm struck the Sea of Galilee, he knew what 10-foot waves could do to a fishing boat. Maybe that's why he volunteered to walk on the water when he saw Jesus walking on the water. And Peter cried out, Lord, if it's really you, then command me to come to you on the water. And Jesus said, come. And Peter left the boat and walked on the water to Jesus. But when Peter saw the wind and the waves, he became afraid. And he began to, what? Sink. As long as he kept his eyes on Christ, he was able to do the impossible. But when he saw the wind and the waves, when he turned his gaze away from Christ, he began to sink. If today you feel like you're sinking, or the next time you feel like you're sinking, lift up your eyes. Set your gaze on Christ. Rejoice in the Lord. Rejoice in his sovereignty. Is God greater than your problem? Has God ever faced this problem before? Does God have solutions you've not thought of? Has God got you through these types of things before? Does God have a good track record? Is God strong? Is God sovereign? Is God still on the throne? Is he over all? See how you lift that up? You're rejoicing in the Lord. You're lifting your mind away from the problems, and you're setting your mind on the one who can solve it. Do not meditate on the past. I rejoice in the Lord. And then the apostle says, having done that, you'll be ready to ask God for help. You've calmed yourself down. Now you ask God for help. Let your requests be made known to God. You see, fear triggers either despair or prayer. Fear triggers either despair or prayer. So choose wisely. God said, call on me in the day of trouble. Jesus said, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. The path to peace is always paved with prayer. That's why the devil doesn't want you to pray. The path to peace is always paved with prayer. The Old Testament prophet Isaiah said, put the Lord in remembrance of his promises. Keep not silence. God told Isaiah, put me in remembrance. Let us contend together. That is to say, go ahead and remind the Lord of what he said he will do. Not that he needs the reminder, but we need the reminder. We are agreeing with God, which stands in defiance of the devil and any demons who might be lurking away. You're standing not on the pain in life or the problems of life, but you're standing on the promise of life. Lord, you said you'd walk me through the valley. Lord, you said you would never leave me or forsake me. Lord, you said that you would walk me through the waters. So you find a promise that fits your problem, and then you make a prayer out of it. You find a promise that fits your problem, and then you just make a prayer out of it. And these prayers touch the heart of God and activate the angels in heaven. Your prayer might not be answered overnight, but it will come with an answer to prayer, and you will overcome. And having done so, you can then do this. Leave your concerns with God. You celebrate God's goodness. You ask God for help. Then you leave your concerns to God. Do you tell God, now God, I'm just going to stay around till you get it fixed. If you need my advice, I'm going to be putting you on the clock. I'm going to check in with you. No, you leave your concern with your heavenly Father. It was never your job anyway. Let your requests be made known to God. And the word for request there is a word that could be translated itemized requests. These are specific concerns that you have. The more specific you can get, the better. So you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, I've got that interview with that person at 2:30 this afternoon. I'll always get tied up into knots thinking about how difficult that's going to be. But today, instead of giving in to the anxiety, I'm going to offer a specific prayer based on a specific promise. And so, Heavenly Father, please, at 2:30 this afternoon, go ahead of me. Go into the room. Be preparing it. Clean it out. Change the atmosphere. Be softening his heart, or be giving me wisdom. Grant that I can know exactly what to say before I get there. And then get specific with it. Give us this day our daily bread. Jesus taught us to pray. Give us today what we need. And then between early in the morning and 2:30, when you feel that anxiety coming, you can say, oh no, I left that at the repair shop. I left that with the Heavenly Father. He's working on that. He has gone ahead of me. I trust him. Instead of giving into the anxiety, then you can rejoice. You can say, oh good, I'm going to rejoice in the Lord because I know he's going to keep that promise because he's a faithful Father. I'm going to leave that with him. And instead of giving into that tailspin, that quicksand of anxiety, you lift up your eyes and you rejoice in the Lord. And by the time it's time to go into the meeting, you're a better person. You're a better person. You're going in armed with faith. And consequently, where that anxiety has gone, you can now place gratitude. Gratitude. Look what the apostle says. He says, in everything by prayer and supplication with what? Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Anxiety and gratitude cannot share the same heart. Test me on this. Don't let anxious, negative thoughts take over your mind. You cannot control your circumstances, but you can control how you think about them.